Thanks for attending Hacking the Next Generation. It has a bit of a Star Trek theme, so we mention the cyber frontier, quickly followed by the Picard facepalm and the annoyed Riker. We will not be saying cyber too much more.
Closer and louder.
Closer and louder. All right. Oh, you hear me now? So there's the Star Trek memes. So my generation of users recalls when technology was very complex. It had certain types of age limitations, such as, age restrictions, because it required basic skills, such as reading, typing, and lots of patience. Today, with mobility and consumerization of IT, the current generation does not have these limitations. Yes, it's okay to share your password with someone. Last year, my 2-year-old barely spoke a word. But now, he's sharing the passcode to unlock his tablet with everybody here in the Packet Hacking Village. Kids are wired to learn without even trying. But when it's something that's fun that they want to do, they're even better at it. I recall from my childhood, I used to memorize these complex matrices and tables for Dungeons and Dragons because it made the game go better and faster, and it was just an overall better experience, right? There was an incentive. Looking back, I wish I had that much focus and energy from my early childhood education. But where were the incentives? If you believe we are responsible for helping the current generation understand technology the way it should be learned, we have a lot in common. It is our responsibility to teach them the right way that technology works and the right practices to put in place so that they're the next great innovators, but they lead with security in the design. But we got to make it fun for them. And that's why Hack for Kids was created. Back in February of 2013, I see this tweet go by, and it was pretty interesting to me. I said, this is something I want to do. I want to help. So I replied to them asking if they could use an extra set of hands. You can see the 4 different names that are up there, their Twitter accounts. And they responded positively, and then I received another tweet later to start joining in their conference calls. I was very excited to be a part of ThoughtCon Kids. Then after about a month or so, unfortunately ThoughtCon decided not to move into a kids event. But I already had that fire inside of me. I was excited to do it because for a long time I was thinking about what kind of a conference or what kind of way that I can share knowledge, bring people together, help foster community. And I thought this was going to be the outlet for that. And that's why you're here today at DEF CON, right? But when it was gone, I kind of had to recover a little bit about losing that. And then it kind of dawned on me, why don't I just do it? So hopefully you can get as excited as I am about doing something like this to help the next generation. These are just some pictures from our event last year in Chicago. And you can see here, there's my son again last year when he was 2. By the way, I have 3 kids. He's the youngest. That is a homemade hack of a robot in a nice garbage can with a pail for a head, with Arduino in there and Wi-Fi controls. It's pretty cool. But he was a little kind of cautious to go near it. It's bigger than him. It's shiny. He's never seen it before. But if you could see on the left, there's a bucket of candy. So all his fears went away when he saw that. We also do stuff with snap circuits, just to kind of start them to be curious about electrical engineering. If you've never played with these, even if you've heard of them, they're a ton of fun. There were adults working at that activity station. They didn't want to leave. Their kids were done. They're just like, I'll be with you in a minute. I'm building an AM radio. And then this year, one of the cool things that we introduced was Arduino that they can actually interact with a little bit. So we printed out with our 3D printer some custom cases for the Arduinos, but they were blinking a message in Morse code, and that became a part of a scavenger hunt. So one of the kids said, I want to do a scavenger hunt. And when I was teaching my son, my older son, how to use Arduino, and you do the first sketch, which is a blinky light, he's like, can you blink Morse code? And then we used those ideas and we put them together for a scavenger hunt, and the kids loved it. And here you could see somebody who's actually doing what we call technology reverse engineering, which was later named the Technology Destruction Village, because by the end of the day, all the hardware was just in pieces everywhere. But the kids loved it because now they're taking apart tech, which usually when they're at home, their parents are like, don't touch that, no, stop. And we're completely against that. It's a very open environment. So what about maybe a hack for kids in your area? Or what is Hack for Kids? So we are a registered 501c3 with the IRS. First we're in Illinois, because we're based out of Chicago, not-for-profit, or an NFP. And you can see that in the name, Hack for Kids NFP. So my background was originally in accounting, so I kind of had to hack the bureaucratic mind a little bit. And I thought right around the holidays, how can I get my 501c3 really quick for Hack for Kids? Well, I went on the website. January 1st, it wasn't working. January 2nd, it wasn't working. January 3rd, it wasn't working. But January 4th, it worked. So I submitted the application, and you can see by the stamp there, January 9th, it was approved. How is there a hack involved? Think about what people are doing when they're kind of working in this department of the government. They just got back from break. They really don't want to work too hard. They kind of really don't want to be there. And now they got a pile of applications they need to process. They're going to do the smallest ones first. So I'm very happy to say we got it done in 5 days. What we've also done with Hack for Kids is we're working with other established conferences. So, for example, Circle CityCon, based out of Indianapolis, I contacted the organizers and said, hey, look, can we do something together? Because I'm sure that you have some parents that want to bring their kids over so we can have an area where the kids can keep busy. And, of course, they agreed. We're also working with BrewCon. So the folks that organized BrewCon, I met them last year, and now we're going to do one October 4th this year, which is the Sunday before BrewCon, to be technically accurate. And then also GERCON. So GERCON, I know the organizers of them. They're over in Grand Rapids. If you haven't been to GERCON, it's a cool con. It's over 1,000 people, and we're going to have another Hack for Kids station or section there. So part of what Hack for Kids is we have our own day to do something in Chicago, but we also want to work with other conferences, so as adults go there to learn and share. If they bring the kids, that's great. We can keep them occupied while training them and having fun. So what if you want to get involved? What if you want to start to do something and maybe run a Hack for Kids in your area? By the way, I will share this Prezi after this presentation's over, so if you don't want to take pictures, that's cool. Not to focus on you because I can't see anyone over there. So that's the URL, and what about starting your own? Well, you can, but right now that's about the length of the form, just your full name. I had to put something together quick. The link will stay the same, but there's going to be a lot more questions. We take child safety and protection at Hack for Kids very, very seriously. That's one of my other kids. What do we mean by that? Well, I get a lot of my training from the Boy Scouts. I was a Cub Scout when I was a kid, but now as an adult, my kids are active. I'm a Scouter. So we do training like youth protection training. That's very important, and we've taken some of those really solid principles from the Boy Scouts, like having a 2-to-1 ratio of adults to kids, so this way there's never one kid and one adult alone, and that actually helps both of the entities. For example, the kid might actually say something which the adult might be like, oh yeah, that's a really funny joke, and it could be taken out of context, and that adult might be now in a situation that can question their character, or vice versa, where maybe the kid might feel uncomfortable just being with that adult, but there's no intent, right? So we just really try to protect everybody, and we always have someone, with at least 2 adults to 1 kid. Our volunteers, are not just somebody that can fill out a form online and we're going to go, come on, we love you. But we don't know them. We want to make sure our volunteers are somebody who we know, or somebody who knows like 1 or 2 degrees of separation, or someone who's active with other activities, like a soccer coach who every year has to go through some kind of vetting and make sure that that person is safe to be around kids. Those are the kinds of people that we want, but we would need a letter from that organization saying you're safe to be around kids. And also everybody on the staff and the board, I've known for a number of years, or anyone that's come and joined, they've known them. Photography is a big issue. You could even see over there at the CTF, no photo without consent. We're the same way, but for a different reason. You could see in this particular example, even though you know there's a child, or we call them tyros, I'll explain why in a little bit, there's a person there using snap circuits, and they have the Arduino, but can you identify who that is? Probably only the boy's parents, relatives, and maybe a few close friends. You have no idea who that is. And that's the kind of photography we require people who are not on staff to take, but we have 2 photographers, and if they take any frontal photos, those go directly from the camera to me. And then I can share that with them privately if they choose to have those photos delivered to them. And here's another example where you could see this year we had someone, we tested having 7-year-olds attend. And here's one tyro with his dad building something from our STEM section. Why do we call them tyros? It's actually a word a member of the staff picked out of the air because it means like a novice or someone who's learning, and it's spelled T-Y-R-O. I got a little something for you in a bit about that. So what we did was we made the tyros their own badge. So last year we had some printed badges, which were pretty cool. But this year, we got a 3D printer right around the time when prices are low in the holiday season after Thanksgiving. And we're like, let's go print a really cool badge. It's got like all these pieces and you got to put it together. And it's really hard, but as they do certain challenges in the CTF, they'll get a piece and build it. But then we realized that it would just be too big and clunky, and it would be so hard for them to kind of manage and get through the day and have a good time. So a little button on a robot that I found, and then I kind of expanded it out to actually be about 2 inches. And then I put H4K on there. But what makes this really unique, and the glider symbol, which is really cool, what makes this really unique is this tyro symbol that I created for them. So I did a little scouring on the internet, and I found that arrow-looking shape came from a Nordic rune, and the name of that symbol is Tyr, T-Y-R. So to finish off the word tyro, I put a circle in the middle of it. Well, Tyr means strengthened warrior, and the circle represents the unity within the hacker community, as well as a hacker's never-ending quest for knowledge. So we learn something, and then we kind of keep turning it around and trying to change it and make it evolve. So I felt that this would be a really good symbol for them to kind of inspire them to be and grow into ethical hackers. So why and where Hack for Kids? There's other conferences out there. For example, today and yesterday, Roots Asylum, great kids con, also known as DEF CON Kids. And I actually just met Nico today, and I'm very excited to have now met her and hopefully do some kind of knowledge transfer and sharing, which is what it's really about, right? Another really good conference in San Jose is Hack Kids. But now it looks like the organizer of that's moving to the Carolinas. There's a message on their homepage. So they're deciding, do they continue in San Jose, or do they just move everything to the Carolinas? But what about those kids in San Jose? Both of these conferences are West Coast based. What about the rest of the country? What about the rest of the planet? So that's where we come in. We really don't view ourselves as a Chicago conference. We've already started working with other conferences in other regions. As you can see, there's GERCon in Michigan, Circle City Con in Indianapolis, and BrewCon in Brussels, or Belgium. So what about you guys and where you live? While I've been here the past few days, so many people want to have a conference in Austin, Washington, D.C., Orlando, Seattle, just all over the country. But I have a solution for that, which I hope you like. We'll get to that later. So who are the people that are being affected by Hack for Kids? Well, first of all, how do we deliver content? So why would you want to get involved with something when you don't even really understand how it works? We have a speaking track. We do activity stations, so just a lot of hands-on labs. And we also do workshops. And we always try to do at least 2, depending on the size of the venue, that are roughly 2 to 4 hours. And we also try to include that with the price of admission into the conference, which is $40 for kids, $25 for adults, which is still below our cost. We also require every Hack for Kids to have a ISC squared safe and secure online presentation. If you're not familiar with this, this is where the internet safety and best practices comes from. And we teach the kids kind of starting at the basics. What's a good password? Remember the video in the tablet? What's a good password look like? Should you use the same password everywhere? What about people asking your password? What about people online that you start to chat with if you're playing Dota 2 or World of Warcraft? Are these people you want to go and meet? Maybe you should talk to your parents about stuff like that first. And it goes on and on and on to really start to build that stuff within them so it's not even a thought, it's just they know to do it, as well as anti-cyberbullying. Can't stand the cyberbullying. Just because you're anonymous on technology doesn't mean you should abuse that. And that's what we try to teach them. Start to begin the ethics and the integrity of being online. So the speaking tracks, this year we were very fortunate to have Ruben Paul, who's a 9-year-old CEO of Prudent Games, or Cyber Shaolin, you might have heard of those. But he spoke, he was our very first keynote, and I really feel that it was actually very appropriate for Ruben to give that keynote because he's sharing the same message with the help of his father. And it's just kind of like in his family, actually the rest of his family. So they're kind of like this small community with support from other people, but we wanted to be there for them, and we wanted everyone else to meet him as well. So the activity stations, this is where the creativity really comes in. Oh, by the way, back to the speaking. We have speakers of any age welcome. We encourage young speakers. We encourage first-time speakers. We've had adults speak for the first time. But anyone of any age is welcome to speak at Hack for Kids. We have a CFP open right now for GERCON. With the activity stations, so if you want to do something, and there's something that you're really good at, even if it's like e-textiles, you can have an e-textile station. If it's something like software-based radio, it doesn't matter. You can introduce it to the kids, but what we recommend is very short moments of time where they're learning, and then give them an exercise. Another short moment of time, another exercise. Build on that knowledge, and then we give them challenges. All right, now that you kind of feel comfortable with this, here's a puzzle for you. We did that with Python for Kids. So we kind of went with the hello world, et cetera, et cetera. I got more of that coming up. And then we gave them some challenges. And when they meet those challenges, they receive a little token or some kind of recognition for that. And that's an entry into a drawing at the end of the conference. So this way, there's the incentive. They're learning, they're having fun. Actually, let's flip it. They're having fun, they're learning, and they have an incentive. So here, this was I love this thing. It was in our STEM station, and it's a popsicle stick catapult, and they had to build it with popsicle sticks, a glue gun, a rubber band, and a plastic spoon. And as they were building them, we gave them a base design, but they kind of started to change the design based on their style, and that's cool. We let them do it. And then they started having competition, shooting like little balls of paper across the room to see who had the better design. Isn't that what that's about? Isn't that why we're here today? So, the workshop one didn't, I'm sorry, here, this was, I was supposed to start talking about this. So at that station, we gave them a sheet, we gave them what the picture of the catapult could look like. We also included some information if they are in Scouts, how they can also earn some achievement for the other scouting recognition. So it's kind of like they're doing two things at once, which is great, right? So, the workshops, Those are really like the longer duration of time. So the activity stations, you want them there about 20 minutes, but if they want to stay all day, they could stay there all day. The workshops are roughly 2 to 4 hours, and it's something that's a focus, just like you have here, but we keep them there for a reasonable amount of time. For example, this one here is a web hacking exposed bounty hunter edition workshop. So they're learning how what a web app architecture looks like. They learn how to attack it. They learn how to protect it, so they put the proper security controls in the design all around a Star Wars theme. 2 kids were, actually all the kids were given a challenge to do like a web inject into a website, and 2 of them were able to do it without being taught. They Googled it, they figured it out, and boom, they injected some code into a web page. Pretty cool. And they each will receive a $25 gift card for that challenge. So we're very generous. That's where the donations come from. We just give it back. Other workshops, this year we're doing a Raspberry Pi intro, where they learn everything from unboxing, getting it on a network, figuring out how to connect to it, using a CLI, working with Python to talk through the GPIOs to a robotic servo motor, so now they can learn how to build their own robot. We're just giving them foundational knowledge. So the other activity station we talked about was for Python for Kids, which we did get, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The Hello World, who are you? Just learn how to use raw input and then respond with some kind of print statement. So they're learning how to interact with the code. List, so they can build a list of informations or a list of whatever they want in there, like a list of groceries. And then some drawing, just to kind of make it a little bit more fun. And then the challenge came. Dizzy Turtle was just really using a for loop and then the drawing module for the, there's like a logo. You remember the turtle? Remember logo when you were a kid? Yeah. So there's a turtle module in Python, and you can use that to teach kids how to do graphics and just a for loop to kind of have it make this kind of a shape. Other challenges like favorites. So build a list of your favorite thing, build another list of another favorite thing, and join them. So teaching them how to add lists. And then the hardest challenge was the Fibonacci series. Nobody got that. Some of them might have tried, but we're trying to also test the boundaries to see how difficult the content is or how easy it is. Oh, the last thing I was going to say before is at the very bottom, give accreditation where it's due. So, you know, in this thing in front of the kids, we cited that we had permission to use that name from No Starch Press and use some of the exercises from the book. It's very important. So now, what happens when the conference is over? We put this information up on our library. This is the current state of the library on the website. Very simple. This is from last year. So when we're done with this year, we're going to upload all the content from this year. So all the presentations from all the workshops, from any, like Python for Kids. We have crypto challenges, so you can see they're 1 through 8. Anything from just, this is a simple substitution cipher versus something in binary, base 64. This year we 3D printed a Braille message so the kids could feel the Braille and kind of figure out what the letters were. Very cool. That's not up there yet, but all of these are graphic images, so the kids can't just copy and paste it and drop it in some kind of decoder online. They really got to work through it and learn the math. So prizes, the incentive. We're very generous, but we give the kids an opportunity to play with snap circuits. But for example, this year we gave away this snap circuit 500 project kit. This has a retail value of about $150. So you can see with a $40 entry fee and the prizes, the adults or the parents, the chaperones have a lot of incentive. No Starch Press gave us 7 books for so far the first 2 conferences we've done this year, and Python for Kids is one of their most popular kids books, and they were very generous handing that to us as well. We give them some tech. They got an Arduino, and then we print them those cases that you saw earlier. We printed a white one for them because they're Tyros. And then lastly, the folks in the Hardware Hacking Village, or the DC Darknet folks, last year they gave us 4 badges to give away at the conference. Those badges were so popular. One kid wanted the badge, which cost $20 back then, versus the $150 snap circuit. So the parent kind of like steered him back to the snap circuit. Thank you very much. One kid, his sister won the Darknet badge, and he wanted it so bad, he just broke down in tears. They really wanted it because it looked like a fun toy after they do all the soldering, and the TV be gone. When we told them what a TV be gone is, they kind of lost their minds. So this year, those guys donated 10 to us. So we have 10 more badges that we can use and give to the kids as prizes. So how do we know Hack for Kids is effective? It's hard. It's really hard to know. Specifically around the safe and secure online. There's no real survey we can issue afterwards. There's really no way to follow up. So we're just hoping we're doing the best thing. But it's just something that we kind of keep in touch and find out that we're, eventually, if we keep in touch with the parents, eventually find out that we're doing the right things and teaching the kids how to be safe and not be bullies. Surveys are usually done near the end of the conference, just before the prizes, because we learned you want to get to the prizes, which they're all been working hard for all day, you got to fill out a survey. One of the top messages right here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. So this is the hard thing about surveys, is that very first one, how many Hack Kids attended? So including this one, circle one. What's up, man? And there's numbers to circle. Well, when I read this to my 9-year-old, he understood it the way I wrote it. When I read it to my wife, she understood it a different way. I'm not going to say that's wrong because this is being recorded, and if she ever hears me say this, I have a lot of explaining to do. But the way it was intended is, if you've been to a Hack for Kids before, or if this is your first one, circle 1. And there's only one kid who's been to 3, but yet somebody wrote in 4. Well, what do we do with that data? Do we discard it? Or do we try to look back and correct it? We know, oh, wait, we've never seen these people before. This is their first time they came here. It's really a 1. And do we do that for all of them? But then it kind of taints the data. So it's a difficult thing. Plus ages, there's for commercial organizations, there's regulations called COPA. So when you collect information about kids, especially online, there's certain things and you have to handle it a certain way. That's not applied to a charity, but we still want to use the same principles. So we don't want to ask people their age, so we use ranges. And I got some stats on that coming up, or gender too. We like to know, we're finding this interesting for both genders. Whoops, there we go. And then down here, there we go, that's it. With the workshop, so here's a list of all the different things that they could have done at Hack for Kids. And there's 2 workshops, but they only were allowed to go to 1, but some of them had an answer for both. What do we do? Do we just go back and trace it, or just, because they don't write their name on this, so it's hard to know how to handle that data. Just other examples. So let's look at some of the final statistics. I'm not a graphic designer, so this is the best I could do to make an infographic. So, I hope you like the data. It's more interesting. So looking at the different participants, so this year in Chicago, we had 53 kids that were registered, and you can see the breakdown by gender. But of those 53, the first line is the kids who attended their very first Hack for Kids, the tyros that were there, 36 boys, 12 girls. The next line are kids who were at least 2, and I know that data because I met them, but there was one kid who I knew was in Indianapolis, but never showed up in the data. So it's very hard to, just, I guess we tweak it and change it, but then it's impure. And then one kid I know went to all 3. And then this is a breakdown of the age ranges. So I find it very interesting that even though we had kids that were 7 to 17 that could be allowed to attend, there's a smaller percentage of the top part of the demographic from age. So 13 to 17, maybe this is not what they're really interested in, but when I was out here on the floor talking to different people, there's a lot of 14 and 15-year-olds that really want to do this. So we got to make this more challenging for them. And then 8 to 12 looks like it's really our sweet spot. So then we want to know, are we introducing activity stations that are really interesting to these kids? Or do we introduce something that we thought would be a lot of fun, but the kids really didn't care about? So we did a quick a look at what was most popular and what was most attended. There's some other like least attended, but I didn't want to share that data, just didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But we found that the Technology Destruction Village, most popular. But now we need, who doesn't like taking things apart? Now we need to figure out how to make that a little better. So we're kind of playing around with the idea of turning it into like a MacGyver type village where you've got some parts. Here's a breadboard, here's an LED, here's a power source. What can you build? And then most attended was the lockpicking village. These kids love the fact that they could start to do physical security because a lock, you know, you look at it, just a little silver circle, and you can put something magical in there that turns. Well, then when they learn how it works and they can start picking them, they don't want to leave. So when we looked at some of the stats of the complexity, so we had like a tracking chart. In the lockpick village, 28 kids went to that particular station. Most of them did between 1 and 4 pins, but of the 5 pin, there were 12 kids who were able to get that far. 6 pin, 6 kids, and the handcuffs, 9. And there were 2 kids who went straight to the handcuffs and nothing else. What's that telling us? 3 of them did everything. So everything from a 1 to a 6-pin lock and handcuffs. I've never been able to get anything past 5, so I'm pretty impressed. NetSec, important stuff. You're in the packet hacking village. That's what it's all about. 9 kids went to the NetSec section. Of that, it was 9 kids, so 9 of 9 actually did, 7 of 9. Oh, there's a little Star Trek edition there, a little theme. 7 of 9 did all the exercises. And then we had another challenge that was a hidden file challenge. So they had to collect packets. They'd go to our website and then try to find that, just kind of like what you do in Packet Detective and capture the packet, find the hidden message. And 7 of those kids were able to do that. Python for Kids, we had 10 kids go in there. And then it looks like 10 of them did up to challenge 3, exercise 3, but only 2 completed up to challenge 2, and nobody got the Fibonacci series, which is unfortunate because that looked like a fun one. So, as we know, everything is in the packaging and the delivery. If we ask kids, hey, would you like to do some advanced math proofs? What do you think they're going to say? I want to go play Minecraft. But if you say, hey, you want to do some spy math? What are you going to say? Yeah, can you show it to me? So we start showing them crypto. We start showing them how, like eeny, meeny, miny, mo is a numbering system. And 7 of 8, of the 12 that went there, 7 was able to get through 8 of the exercises. So there's a lot of challenges, and they did fairly well. 2 of them actually did proofs. And I heard one of them was about 8 years old, which is pretty impressive. Technology Destruction Village, most popular. 14 kids went, and of the 14, they have to identify different components. So it's not like they just showed up, they take something apart, and they walk away. They have to identify components. So the person there says, what is this, what is this? 5 of them identified 7 components, and it looks like, wow, should do math better. 14, all of them identified a capacitor. Not all of them identified everything else. It's kind of an interesting stat. Some comments. These were 2 of the comments that I was able to share. One of them was just, guess who? I don't know what to do with that. But they really enjoyed it. Well, wrapping up. I hope I ended a little early. Yeah, you guys can go find out what the screaming about is over there. But I hope you guys decide to take the journey with us, climb the mountain, help protect the next cyber frontier. A little corny, but if you want to learn more about Hack for Kids, I'll be around here. You can ask me some questions. You can give me a business card. Tell me where you're at. We'll talk about it. And then here's a way to reach us. So we're on Twitter, and I'm D. Schwartzberg, as I was introduced earlier. I work for Mobile Iron, so they're really cool about me doing this kind of stuff. So check out Mobile Iron. There's some references to some of the information that I shared with you earlier. And I just want to thank you for your time and attention, and hopefully you guys can then explore that next cyber frontier. Thank you. Have a good day.